thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. It's great to be back here in Washington. I love Washington State, and I do travel all over the United States and talking about some pretty heavy stuff. And I want you to know that everything that you hear tonight is true. It's well, solid information, well sourced. And if I'm speculating on something, I'll let you know. But otherwise, everything that I'm going to be talking with you about is fully documented. So this is something that you're going to hear as, oh, it's a conspiracy theory, or this is something you've got, a tinfoil hat, or there's black helicopters over your head or something if you're talking about United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. But that is the green mask, and that's why I called my book Behind the Green Mask, because this is, of course, a huge corporatocracy. This is the mega corporations that own all of our press and that are doing everything that they can to make sure that you are confused about this issue, that you might feel that, well, there's some point of view that, there are 2 points of view, or this is someone's opinion. And this is where this is where they're going to sort of manipulate the point of view of the population of the United States. But we're going to see tonight, you're going to hear how this is all coming together for you, what this all means for you, where it is in your town, where it is in your county, what it is, and how to fight it. So I want you to know that I'm a commercial real estate appraiser. And my expertise is eminent domain valuation. I'm an expert witness, and I have been testifying for the state of California Department of Transportation for 30 years. I just retired. And while I was doing that job, I was going from county to county and determining what people's properties were worth so that it could be acquired for a freeway project. And about 10 years ago, I saw that something was wrong. That when I would go into a planning department to find out what someone could do with their property, there really wasn't much they could do with their property. No matter what their zoning was, it didn't seem to be relevant. In fact, the planning department seemed to be the gatekeepers, the people who were there to stop you from using your property. And of course, as an appraiser for the government, I was really concerned about that. Because here I was supposed to testify in court and determine what people's property was worth. And how could I do that fairly if I was not able to support that information with solid documentation when I was in court? So through doing my research and also through being elected to a redevelopment project area oversight board where I found that it was fraudulent and doing research on that, I found Agenda 21 behind that. So we're going to go into that, see what it's about. I think that you're going to find yourselves, as Americans, you're going to find yourselves totally at odds with and very concerned by the agenda for the 21st century. And that's what it's called by the United Nations. It is Agenda 21, the agenda for the 21st century. So it's a blueprint. It is the action plan to inventory and control all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals, all energy, all construction, all information, and all human beings in the world. It is a totally comprehensive plan. Inventory and control. It is a transition from representative government to government by unelected boards and commissions. It's an erasure of jurisdictional boundaries. It's a loss of sovereignty and our freedom. And it is everywhere. This is a global plan, but it is implemented locally. And that's where you'll see it, is locally. So you're not going to be concerned about this just as Americans. You'll be concerned about this as free human beings. United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development, was signed on to by 179 nations in 1992 at the United Nations Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. George H.W. Bush committed the United States to implementing Agenda 21, Sustainable Development, and it has been supported by every president ever since. It's a global plan, as I said, but it's implemented locally. So that's where you're seeing it. So United Nations Agenda 21 is actually the biggest public relations scam in the history of the world. But it's far more than that. It is a recipe for our destruction. It enables and justifies the monitoring, metering, and restricting of our energy and water usage. And you'll see that in smart meters. It enables and justifies creating a carbon tax that restricts our use of energy and our industry. Pulverizes our roads, destroys our dams. It's sinking our economy. It's exhausting our military with endless war. It enables the diagnosis of our population with mental illness and drugging us. Bleeding our transportation budgets with high-cost trains to nowhere. Revamping our school system by inserting sustainable development principles into every course from pre-kindergarten all the way to postgraduate school. Declaring our public lands off limits to humans, changing every land use document in the nation to require high-density housing in city centers. This is so we can be more easily controlled, managed, and surveilled. It allows for warrantless searches and domestic surveillance. Those drones, that is part of it. Identifying us as potential enemy combatants in our own country. And redefining torture. This is all part of United Nations Agenda 21. And if an enemy was trying to destroy us, it could not do a better job. You know, in fact, what would an enemy do if it was trying to destroy us? They would take out our infrastructure, right? It would close down our dams, our water, our access to energy, infiltrate our schools. This is what it looks like. This is the erection of a corporatocracy. It is a global totalitarian state, and it is happening now. It doesn't come with flashing lights. It's a stealth plan in plain sight. And I want to say right now, it is a nonpartisan fight that we're in. I happen to be a liberal Democrat. This is not a left-right thing. Every free person in the world is coming out and fighting this plan. This is a national, international, grassroots, nonpartisan movement to fight this. And it's happening everywhere right now. So there's an overarching political and social philosophy that goes with this plan. Because, of course, all movements like this, all tremendous, powerful movements have to have a philosophy that goes with them. And in this case, it's communitarianism. Now, communitarianism, it says that the individual's rights have to be balanced with the rights of the community. Now, you know we're Americans. Our individual rights are guaranteed to us by our Constitution. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, right? Now, they're not granted to us by our government. We were born with those rights. They were granted to us by our Creator. They cannot be taken away, right? But communitarian rights are the rights of the community. Now, those rights are not delineated. They're not written anywhere. They can change at any time. They are granted or taken away by a government, right? So when you balance the individual's rights with the rights of the community, what are you going to have? You're going to have the individual's rights are always going to be at odds with the rights of the community because the individual is selfish. And the community, when you're thinking about for the common good, you can't be thinking about yourself as an individual. So when you balance those rights, the individual always loses. And the rights of the community always weigh more than the rights of the individual. So this is communitarianism. And it's also, Agenda 21 is also dependent on the Hegelian dialectic. And that says that you have a crisis that's created, and then you have a solution. And the balance between those two, the third way, that's the new normal. That's something you never would have accepted if it hadn't been for that crisis. Oh, there's a crisis. You have to deal with it. You can't think too clearly because you must act now. This is what happens when you have communitarianism. You have the pressure from your peer group that is telling you that you must act. You have to act as a group. You can't think as an individual. So what's the crisis? the crisis that's driving all of this is global warming, climate change. Climate change, global warming. Global warming, climate change. Something. It's really serious. This is what you're going to hear. We have such a serious situation happening. The Earth is dying. If we don't do something fast, the entire planet is going to be destroyed. No more biodiversity. The seas are going to rise. We're going to be underwater. We're going to need a snorkel to get out of bed if we're not careful. Panic, chaos, collapse, right? This is the crisis. Now, in the local paper where I live, it says it's hard to deny that the Earth is functioning well over capacity. Like an overworked horse, it's simply a matter of time before the global organism collapses. Feel that panic? Feel that stress? That's what you're supposed to feel. You're supposed to feel that there's no time to lose. We must act, and all intelligent people agree that it's our fault. Our selfish, greedy, wasteful ways have destroyed the planet, almost. So what are we going to do? Here comes the UN to the rescue, right? We're going to save the planet. That's what's going to happen. We've got the World Commission on Environment and Development in 1987, the United Nations World Commission on Environment and Development in 1987. They came up with a book called Our Common Future. And that's where the term sustainable development comes from. You know, you've got sustainable everything now, right? Everybody knows what's sustainable. We need a man on the street. What's sustainable development? You go ask your elected officials, what's sustainable development? Well, everybody seems to have a different definition for it. Do they know where it comes from? It comes from the United Nations in 1987. This is where they created and defined the term. And it is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Well, that sounds good, doesn't it? I mean, who would want to, who in this room would not want their children and grandchildren and everyone that comes after them to have a better life? Isn't that what it's all about here in America, right? You think, I just was speaking on the East Coast and, the original 13 colonies. You think those people set foot on the shores of North America and said, let's see what we can do to mess up the future? I don't think they did that, right? So, of course, when they defined sustainable development as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs, they said, yeah. As a matter of fact, everything we're doing now is compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. So what are we going to do about it? They said, okay, here's what the General Assembly of the United Nations said to the World Commission on Environment and Development. They said, can you guys come back in 5 years with the action plan for how to deal with what we're doing to the planet, destroying the planet? They said, sure, we'll do that. And they came back with the action plan, the blueprint for sustainable development. And here it is, Agenda 21, that thing that they tell you that you're making up, your conspiracy theory. It's a real thing. You can get it on the UN website, un.org. It is 400 pages. It's 300 pages, 40 chapters. And it covers every aspect of your life. But it in itself is a green mask. Because when you look at it, a lot of it seems like, well, it's not so bad. It's an inventory and control document. And that is very important because this entire plan and every aspect of it is all about inventorying and controlling you.